Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Television, a show brought to you by USCFootball.com. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, and along with Chris Trevino here in studio. Follow him on Twitter at Chris N. Trevino. What's up, Chris? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. We got remotely on the other side of the country, Shotgun Spratling. Follow him on Twitter at Shotgun SPR. Shotty, how are you, man?
Doing good. I stopped by Chris's alma mater today, so had to look for the Chris Trevino statue. No one would tell me where it was at. I'm kind of confused right now.
Yeah, University of Maryland.
Is this going to be like a normal thing? Like every Sunday you just go to some part of Maryland and bring that energy to me?
Close for him,
Is that how it's going to be?
I mean, it's not that close. It's like going to San Diego on a day trip. So
All right.
I don't think it'll be every Sunday, Chris.
And we also
happen to be there today.
Oh, sorry, Shotty. We also have Nicole Shearin here in studio. We have an extra shot for her today. We got some more cameras going and everything.
Yeah.
Nicole, thanks for coming in and helping us with the show again.
Of course. Hello, everyone. Happy to be in my little box over here. This is awesome.
Yeah, so we're getting the show ramped up again like we talked about before. We were going to try to do live calls this week. We're going to skip that and we'll do them next week. We will, anyone that's watching live on YouTube, we will be able to put up your questions on the screen. Please put question first, and we'll be able to do that and expand that and kind of get this going. But we got a lot more shots that we can play with. It should be a lot of fun, and we want to talk about USC spring football week 2 in review. So we were all out there. The three of us were out there at spring practices last week. We heard from Lincoln Riley on Saturday when he did his Zoom call. That was a closed practice on Saturday, putting full pads on, so it's a little bit different feel. And then we'll get to all of your questions and concerns about what's going on with the show. So make sure if you're, in the chat box on YouTube, put your questions in there, and I will try to put them up on the screen as we go. But I wanted to jump in because it's full pads. And this was something that we got to hear from the offensive players, the defensive players. Everyone seemed to be excited about putting the pads on. Full pads is the thing you want to do, especially Alex Grinch. Certainly we got to talk to him on Thursday. But, Chris, maybe start with you as far as any thoughts on the players now, the coaches now, talking about practicing in full pads?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would make it better is if we could actually see some of the full pad work outside of individual stuff. But, it's I think I mentioned this on the Peristyle podcast, small, slight plug to the Peristyle podcast.
Yes.
But I mentioned that it's always nice when you get to see the players come out in pads. That's like the first real It's like the first true beginning of spring camp. You see them, or any camp. You see them out in the pads. You see who looks bigger, who looks super more intimidating when the pads come on. The answer is Shane Lee looks super more intimidating when the pads come on. But out there popping, the intensity seemed to kick it up a little bit in those individual drill patterns or drills with the coaches. Especially the defensive backs. They're the closest we can see, at least for me. Dante Williams fired up, Alex Grinch fired up with those guys, shouting, yelling, making them pop each other a little bit. They haven't done a lot of full-on tackling. Alex Grinch said they're mainly doing thud stuff.
Okay.
They have done a little bit. They have to pick and choose when they want to use those tackling periods because you only get a certain number of a certain number of tackling days now. For the NCAA mandated stuff, so they have to kind of pick and choose what days they want to do that tackling. This week, upcoming week, should be a little bit more.
Yes.
Grinch had mentioned, Riley had mentioned, both of them had mentioned that there will be some scrimmage periods. So they'll be a little bit more active when it comes to hitting. So we'll probably see those clips come out. But yeah, just a little bit more buzzworthy at practice, just because got the pads popping. You can hear it when we're outside.
Yeah.
Waiting for practice or to get in to do interviews.
Want to see the pads popping. You want to hear the pads popping. I wish we could watch a little bit more. We can't. Shotgun from across the country, flying over there. Any thoughts on the second week of USC spring practice, full pads or whatever you heard?
I mean, I think the interesting thing is hearing Alex Grinch say that they're going to scrimmage this Tuesday and that they haven't scrimmaged necessarily the first 2 weeks. Because normally, by week 2 on that Saturday, you're scrimmaging. That's what those Saturdays, supposed to be those competition periods. And that's the ones we really look forward to going to in previous years when we were able to go see. So a little bit interesting that they have pushed the scrimmage back. So we'll see how they kind of, get in the allotment of full full tackle periods that they're able to get throughout the spring, and at least that they tell us about, because that's all we're going to get from them. But I thought that was pretty interesting that they kind of the schedule is a little bit different. Obviously, this year's schedule is different than previous years of USC spring ball because there's no spring break period and there's no week off like we've seen in the past. So there's just some differences in the coaches and how they're going about things. And then obviously the gold-plated thing, which you guys have talked about a little bit, I think on the podcast and different things. And I was correct about what it actually was initially, so I didn't think it was a huge deal, but I thought it was a good thing that they're doing. And a lot of people were freaking out about, they're changing the helmet logo, what's going on? They're going to have helmet stickers now. But no, that's not actually the case. And I may even do a primer on the site just to explain what the gold-plated is for anyone that's confused. But it's similar to how Ohio State has their, was it red stripe, I believe it is, red stripe or black stripe that they have that goes over the top of the helmet. You have to earn that. And freshmen coming in or newcomers coming in, you have to earn that when you first get to camp. And that's what USC, the players have to earn the helmet logo, the Trojan on the side of the helmet. So that's just something I think it's great that it's about accountability. Lincoln Riley talked about it, multiple questions on Saturday when we talked to him. It's about accountability. He was asked, what kind of changes they made. He said, we'd be here all weekend if I listed all the changes.
Yeah.
And Dante Williams went about it when he took over as interim coach, trying to make the group more accountable. And Keeley had a great story on that from sources and stuff when that happened during the Washington State week. But it needed a full culture change, and that's what the coaches are trying to implement now. So he just listening to what they're talking about, and some of the other coaches mentioning it as well. I think really interesting the steps that are being taken there.
We want to talk about the gold-plated thing a little bit.
Okay.
We got to. So Shotgun kind of explained it a little, but just so you know, everyone's helmet is now plain. So you come into the practice, and there's no USC logo on the side of the helmet. Lincoln Riley explained. I was interviewing Cortland Ford on Tuesday, and he sort of just mentioned it, and we're like, oh, okay, that's different. What was that? We thought there might be stickers like the little Buckeyes you're talking about, Ohio State. It's really just you get the logo. So
It's just the logo. I don't know if my camera's on, but it's just this logo.
Yeah. So if
just earn this logo. That's all it is.
And former players can give it. Like Taylor Mays is around. He's like, hey man, Max Williams made a great play. He worked hard today. Give him the logo. He gets gold plated. So that's what it's like a incentive thing. And Lincoln Riley was pressed, I guess, a little bit about like, well, what happens when the season starts and can someone go out there they haven't earned their helmet sticker, their gold plate, and he kind of made it sound like, look, if you haven't got that, you're not playing. So it was pretty clear. It's like people are going to get it. If you're out there working hard, and if you're not, you're gonna, because you want to have that sticker on that. And I guess it's early double digits, so maybe like 10, 12 people or something have it right now. People were worried about the tradition. I like that. I think it's a new tradition that doesn't infringe on any of the old ones. It's not like we're going to make the logo green. Like, no, it's just you don't get the logo yet, and we're going to add it to your helmet if you play. If you perform well, if you work hard, whatever it is. So I think it's kind of cool. I don't know. Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, just for the players that we know that are gold-plated certified, that went, gold. They sold enough records to be gold. It's Max Williams, the defensive back. He earned one. Mekhi Blackman, the Colorado transfer, he has one. And Taj Washington, a holdover from last season, a transfer from last season, he picked one up as well. Those are the only three that we know of right now because I believe Shotgun
Hudson as well.
Okay.
Lincoln Riley mentioned that he had already gotten has been gold plated. He's really been working hard. I think part of the issue is, people asked on the P about having a tracker. I said, well, you can't really do that unless we get some X-ray vision because they have the safety padding they have for linemen, for tight ends and stuff. So I think that kind of, keeps us from being able to track every single player. But the skill position players on the outside, Chris will be able to get some photos and different things. And this week I'll be at practice on Thursday, grab some photos as well. So try to keep up with as many guys as we can. When we talk to people, we'll be asking. But yeah, it's a gradual thing. And Ryan, I think you didn't describe it exactly correct as far as, the former players are handing it out, but it's not like they have it's not like Taylor Mays is like, oh, I saw that guy make a good play, I'm going to give it to this guy. But the coaching staff is having former players that come to practice or that they bring in as guests, have them be the ones to deliver it. How awesome is it if you're Max Williams and Taylor May, you're playing safety, you're playing nickelback, and Taylor May is a guy you probably looked up to as a safety growing up, is the guy that gives you, that tells you that your goal player is the one that honors you. I think it's just adding an extra element and making it just even more special for the players. And that makes the next guy, whether it's the next safety or, whether it's a running back and, they know Lindell White might show up or something and give them, or Marcus Allen or whatever it may be. Like, I gotta make sure I earn mine right now. I want to go in the weight room right now and get an extra rep in, do this extra thing, because I want to be a part of that group. And that's what it is. It's just incentivizing, working hard, and earning your place. That's something in the past where we've talked about this in the past ad nauseum is, it was kind of, if you're a good player where you're going to get your thing and you didn't necessarily have to work as hard as somebody else. You didn't have to take the same reps in the summer. You didn't have to do this or that. There was a little bit of favoritism in that regard. Whereas now it's everyone is, at a flat line and you go from there. And Lincoln Riley said that, as far as being accountable, it's not just the players. It's not just the newcomers coming in. The seniors don't get some big advantage over the freshmen. Everyone has to earn their place. The staff has to earn their place. The assistant coaches, the head coach, everyone has to be accountable. And I think that's the mentality that there has to be in a championship program. That's something that has definitely been missing. So I really like the development of this, just making them earn it, because in the past, players did not start with the helmet logos either. You start out the beginning of camp and no one has logos on their helmet. And about halfway through camp, just, they give the helmet logos out. Usually in a Coliseum practice, the players show up and, I don't know if they were trying to make them go a little harder in the Coliseum or whatever it may be, but, then there was no real necessary rhyme or reason why suddenly there would be logos on the helmets versus there weren't at the beginning of camp. But now now it's something where you have to earn it. And I think that's just one more thing saying, hey, if you want to represent USC, if you want to wear that interlocked SC on your gear, if you want to wear this helmet sticker, this helmet logo, you have to prove yourself. And, that's just it's a great way to go about it, I think. And it's a great change from where this program was at in the past.
For sure. Oh, dude.
I was going to say, Shotgun, sort of off topic, but was your reasoning for not giving me Family Feud membership?
You had to earn it.
Was this kind of the same? I felt like the whole time you were just saying that, I was just imagining Family Feud in my head.
Yeah, you had to earn it, Chris. And you were working your way up, and that's why you finally made it at the end.
That was tough. You're a full member of Tunnel Vision. Don't worry about it, Chris. And the Peristyle Podcast.
I didn't know that, Keely was going to leave us, and happy birthday to Keely. It is her birthday.
Oh, yeah, happy birthday,
by
Keely.
Chris's alma mater today on Keely's birthday. I don't know what that means, but there's a Family Feud reference there as well. But, it's okay, Chris. You've now found a home. Look at you. You're just blossoming. Before our very eyes. Tunnel vision.
Tone it down a little bit.
Tone it
down a little bit.
All right. Well, okay.
I'm still looking for that statue in College Park, Maryland. I'm just saying.
We'll check it out. Got to get some good crab cakes over there. Speaking of the accountability stuff, one of the things that Lincoln Riley talked about on Saturday, the question coming up about, is there pressure to play like a 5-star? Or, I think maybe Corey Foreman was the topic or something like that. And he was, it was really, I kind of liked what he said about, those are high school accolades. Like when you leave high school, they're gone. Like it doesn't matter anymore. You're moving forward. You're now in college. It's great that if you were a 5-star or whatever, now you're in college and it just starts all over again. And it was, sometimes coaches just talk and you're like, he's saying that. He's like, oh, we got to get better every day. Whatever. This just felt like he, honestly meant it. Like, hey man, once they're done, like it's great. You're going to recruit a bunch of 5-stars, but that's in high school. When they're in college, it's a completely different deal. What did you think of what he had to say, Chris?
Yeah, obviously it's a good sentiment. You have college or high school players, like highly rated prospects and blue chip guys that come in, and some of them maybe act like, this is me. They kind of waltz into a starting spot or feel like everything is given to them given their nature. And I'm not saying that about anybody on the team. I'm just saying that happens from time to time. It's only natural as a highly rated guy, a number 1 overall guy, a program-changing player, you have all this hype as a high school player, and then you still carry some of those expectations into, camp or when you enroll. But you start all over. It's a fresh scratch. You might have been the man in high school, but you're the bottom of the totem pole in college. You have to start all over. You have to earn your stripes. You have to earn your decal, stuff like that. And
Gold-plated.
Gold-plated. You have to get gold-plated in many different aspects. You know, you cannot just walk in there and, you know, expect everything to be given to you. And, you know, Roy Manning, I was in the Roy Manning scrum this week, and he kind of echoed the same thing. You know, what you did in high school doesn't matter. What you do here, you know, is all new. It's all fresh. And, you know, he's seen those. You watch Corey Foreman practice. He's still a little banged up. You know, I think Lincoln Riley said he should be full go next week. Kind of had a setback going into camp injury-wise. So, you know, next week should be a big week for him. But, you know, Roy Manning said you look at him on the field, you see things, you see these flashes of, like, this guy's got some tools. This is why NFL teams look for guys like this. So, you know, you see the potential. You know, you just got to, you know, pull it out of him. And he basically said, you know, Corey Foreman needs to have a big 2022 season. This is the year for him to make an impact for that defensive front.
Yeah, no, I agree. Any thoughts, Shotty?
Yeah, I mean, the ranking that you come in with, it leads to expectations, but that's in high school. That's what you did at a different level. It's the same thing with guys that come in as NFL draft picks and, hey, you're a first-round pick, you're a second-round pick. Good, you got a signing bonus, but does that mean you automatically make the team? Maybe because the team is invested, yeah, you're going to get a little bit of leeway. But if you want to turn into that second contract, that big contract, you got to go out and perform. And same thing with the high school to college. If you want that playing time, if you want the accolades in college, you got to go out there and perform. You can't be a 5-star guy coming out of high school and don't do anything in college and expect you to be an All-American. You gotta go produce, and that's what Lincoln Riley was saying there. And I think it's a great, it's an incentive for players. Hey, you need to work hard, you need to do this, but also I think it takes a little bit of the pressure off of someone like Corey Foreman, especially after not having a giant first year. To say, hey, look, that's high school. We're not worried about your ranking. We're not worried about any of that. We want to see you out on the practice field. We want to see what you can do. You earn your reps, and then you go out there and make plays, and we'll see what you can do. And don't worry about, hey, he's a former #1 player in the country or this or that or that. It doesn't matter anymore. Now you're at square one. You know, you got a new coaching staff here. Build from here. Build from this moment and then go. And hopefully that takes some of the pressure off some of those very highly rated guys that maybe didn't have a big impact initially. And someone like Corey Foreman can go out there and, hey, if he's not a starter, maybe he comes in on third down and he's an absolute terror on third downs. And he works his way into more reps and he works his way up from there and there and there. And you go like that rather than feeling like I've got to make this play right now because I was the former #1 player in the country, or I've got to be able to do this, or I should be getting these reps over someone else because they were lower ranked than me. No, you got to go earn it. And I think that's the mentality. Again, it goes back to the whole thing of earning it. We had a comment of someone said, those 5 stars will automatically get their gold sticker, their helmet decal. This is for the 3 and 4 stars to step up. Put it up. Yeah. And that's exactly the opposite of what Lincoln Riley is saying.
He's
saying every single person has to go earn it, whether it's the JUCO guy, the Josh Fatu, a guy they offer late at the last minute and say, hey, come join the class, the walk-on guy that comes in and earns a scholarship. Those guys are going to have the same opportunity to earn that gold helmet decal as your 5 stars that come in with a bunch of hype, because it's going to be about what work you put in once you get on campus, not what you've done in the past, not what you've done at a previous stop if you're a transfer. What have you done since you got on this campus, in this program, in this weight room, in these workouts? What have you done? What are you bringing to the locker room? What are you bringing to the team? What are you doing away from the field in the classroom? Are you taking care of your business? Are you being a representative of this football team in the community? When you're on the Greek row, are you getting into a fight? Or are you going to be one of the guys that everybody's like, oh, that's the football team. Those are some cool dudes over there, whatever. But it's all that is encompassed into earning that decal, but also just earning your place. You don't automatically get anything. That's what Lincoln Riley, that's the message that's being sent at least.
Yeah. With the full pads and stuff coming on this week, Tuesday, the focus seemed like everyone was talking to offensive linemen or, just there was like kind of an offensive line focus. I don't know, Nicole, you were there too. If you want to comment anything that kind of stood out to you from Tuesday's media sessions and stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely offensive line focus. They were in pads, obviously, so it was physical. And something that definitely stuck out to me, and Ryan and I had talked about this on Instant, but Henson, really the theme that I think they're going with this year is kind of letting that offensive line play to their skills and kind of let them experiment with, Nealon was talking about it, of he's letting us play to our strengths. He's letting us play with the type of skill that as each player has. And I think as a whole, that's really going to make this offensive line strong this season for sure. So I found that super interesting. But that was definitely the theme of that practice, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, everyone we talked to, I mean,
It
was it
your fault.
Why was it?
Because
'Cause
you
I did
straight
ask
up,
Lincoln
you were
Riley.
like,
I said,
Tell
this
me
is-
about the O-line. And
I
that's
said,
what it-
offensive line day, Lincoln Riley.
want
Yes.
Forget
just
everything else.
Put
I'm
the full
stepping
pads
over
are on.
people.
But then all the requests end up being, we didn't even talk to Caleb Williams that day. Anything
No, we didn't.
stand out to you, Chris, from the offensive line? Josh Henson or Brett Nealon or any of the,
It just stood out to me that, Lincoln seems to really like the group that he has at offensive line. He said, you can't replace experience, and they have a lot of experience up front. Obviously, they're a little bit banged up with Bobby Haskins, who will compete at the left tackle spot. That was per Henson on Tuesday, and he also made it sound like Haskins possibly wouldn't get in a lot of spring, maybe at the very end, based on his foot injury.
Mm-hmm.
He's still doing rehab. I watched him on Tuesday do some of the pad, where they get him on their knees and they kind of just go and hit the pad, just some upper body stuff for him. So he's still working through that rehab process. Doesn't look like he's doing any sort of like the running like some of the other guys. But, that kind of stood out to me, and just how, Lincoln is really high on this group, it seems like, just because of that experience they have up top. It's still a little bit thin on that two deep. He said, that will change. There's some guys that he likes what they're doing on that second team, but he said people will fall, people will rise, depending on as the competition goes this spring. But, right now he's really high on that unit. And, I'm not that surprised, given, we thought that this was going to be a really good offensive line coming in here.
Yeah.
Given, they were able to get Voorhees back. They were able to get Nealon back. You got Justin Dedich, looking to move into that starting right guard spot. And then you have the two, young tackles, Cortland Ford, Jonah Monheim, who I talked to Monheim, said he's put on a good amount of weight. He's about 300, 295.
Okay.
He really liked the winter workouts that they went through. So he's looking a little bit bigger. Ford, I know you talked to him. He was really excited about this.
Cortland Ford's excited.
And Ryan, what would he be called? Remember the word from last?
He was
last week?
yoked.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
He was yoked. Cortland Ford is also athletic. So one of the things that you do in this offense is they do pull their offensive linemen a lot. And I asked Cortland Ford about it, and it's like his eyes lit up, and it was just like, yeah, I want to show my athleticism. He likes the fact that they're moving around. And I think Lincoln Riley made it clear that even though you got these guys that you talked about, Dedich and Voorhees and, that just a lot of experience on that line, they have to learn a whole new system, and it's just new terminology. And they have guys that have been through 4 different offensive line coaches. And so there's a lot. It's different. I think Josh Henson talked a little bit about, like, he can change the terminology. Like, sometimes the terminology can change a lot, but just really what they've been asked to do is going to be different. So it's sort of like a learning curve, even for the experienced guys. So before we saw, like, the whole playbook installed in 3 practices, and that's certainly not what we're seeing right now. But there's one of the things that you kind of learned from this was it's great that there's a lot of experience there. And Lincoln Riley brought it up himself. But really, just they have to learn that it's a new system. They're going to be asked to do different things, and it's going to be challenging for these guys.
And he kind of pointed out that it's not inherently bad that they've had 4 different offensive line coaches.
Yeah.
I think he said there is this narrative that happens during coaching changes, like the last guys were terrible and these guys are the greatest coaches in the world and they're going to fix everything. He said that's not the case. These guys have been coached up well. They just need them to do things, a little bit different, or maybe get a little bit more out of a certain skill set. So, he said that straight up. These guys have been coached up well, and they're seasoned in coaching. They've had multiple different guys teach them how to do things. So, they just maybe you do it like this. We want you to do it. Just try it this way a little bit. So, they have a lot of experience when it comes to getting coached. So that makes them also very coachable because they've had to adapt to, as you said, 4 different coaches. So it's not inherently a bad thing, is something he pointed out.
And we'll see. Bobby Haskins comes back. That could change things, obviously. And there's a lot of comments about Josh Connerly, where we should know what April 8th he'll announce.
Shotty's birthday.
Good day.
Take
Shotty's
that for
birthday.
what you mean. That's a sign.
Right.
I don't know what that means.
So he could be around in the fall. But Haskins going through some of the rehab stuff. I wanted to ask you, Shotgun, Rehab Island was like a thing, right? And you would keep track of, there's 35 guys in Rehab Island, or these many scholarship players are not available to play. We've seen, the increased accountability, the physicality, all the stuff that we can kind of sense and see, and from what the players and coaches are saying, have been different than what we've seen in the past. Another one just seems to be players are out there, right? They want to be out on the field. They want to prove it, where maybe the previous staff was sort of like, backing off a little bit just to try to keep guys healthy. This is more about everyone's got to go out there and prove it. If you can play, if you can practice, you got to go out there and practice, not I'm going to work on the bike and watch my fellow teammates practice.
Yeah, definitely. And you want to impress a new staff. You want to prove yourself. I've talked with some players, and a couple of guys that were known to not give enough effort in the past said the first couple of days, gung-ho. They want to do everything that they could. They want to show the new staff hey, they can be, the best player, that they should earn this playing time. Now, the question for me gets, when you get to week 3 or 4 of spring camp, it gets a little tedious. You kind of get the same thing over and over and over. Maybe not so much this spring camp because it is, in different installs, so they're still learning. But when you get towards the end, there is a little bit of a tendency to slack up a little bit. All right, I know this. I got the hang of this. Are you going 100%? That's when you find out, which players want to be in this program or not, and which players are going to be here after spring camp. So I think it's been positive that the numbers on Rehab Island haven't been that many as far as, Chris is tracking and whatnot of what you guys have been able to see at practice. There have still been some banged up guys, but a lot of times in spring, it can be an opportunity for, hey, you have your veteran, say, DB who's a 4th-year guy. He has a wrist surgery. We're not going to rush him back. We know what he can do. Let's see what the young guys can do. Everyone right now, though, wants to prove themselves. So even if someone had a minor surgery in the offseason, you see them out there. They want to be out there, one, because they want to learn what's going to be, what's going on in the system, what their job's going to be, how it's different. I think those things, they're trying to get that knowledge and trying to prove themselves. It's the biggest thing is proving themselves. But if you had a guy like Travis Dye or Austin Jones, those guys may not get a ton of reps in the past, but they want to, they're new guys on the block. They're new to these teammates. They want to prove themselves as their teammates as well. So I think you're getting a lot of that where people want to prove themselves, want to show out. And that's why part of the reason why you're not seeing as many guys on Rehab Island. To go back to the offensive line real quick, you guys talked about how much experience they have. I think that's a big benefit for them because now Andrew Voorhees and Brett Nealon can explain it to one of the younger guys like, hey, this is like when we did it this way. We're calling it, turbo now. This was Trojan before, or whatever it may be. They can, explain the terminology to some of the younger guys, or just help teach because they've seen so much. I mean, Andrew Voorhees has a potential to play 4,000 snaps in his career. That's unheard of at this level, for an offensive lineman. So those type of guys are going to only help the coaching staff because they're going to be able to pick up things a lot quicker than maybe your freshmen that are coming in and learning things brand new.
Is 4,000 a real number, or is that just a bit?
No, I think he's up around 4,000. I mean, you can look it up and find out what the total is for you. It's not, it's not the 10,000, 10K for tattoos or anything.
Oh, yeah. Do you have an update on that?
I have my consultation on Monday.
Nice. So we'll can we do it live on Tunnel Vision?
Yes.
That would be fun. That's a great idea.
Nicole's all about that.
Yes.
Let's do
Yeah,
that.
if you
Live
guys,
from the tattoo part.
if you don't know, Chris promised Twitter he would get a 10K tattoo if he got to 10,000 followers before September. It happened in like a couple of days, so he's got to get a tattoo. We should probably do it live. I think that's a great idea. Let us know in the comments what you like. If you're watching on any of the platforms, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Please subscribe to Tunnel Vision there. Smash that like button. That's what Chris tells me to say.
We need to teach you a new term this week. Every week we
A
need
new,
a
like, hip
yoked
term.
last week.
Yeah.
Smash came up with I saw it on another podcast. I think Chip Patterson from the Cover 3.
I taught you bet, so I need you to say bet on this show.
Oh, yes, Ryan. That's good.
Yeah, I don't even remember what that one is. But anyway, yeah, so we do appreciate you watching live. Thanks for everyone doing that. Hit the like button, and that really helps out. Share it with your friends. Hey, you should watch Tunnel Vision. It's great. Like I said, we'll keep expanding. We have more video feeds and stuff that we're going to use for the show, try to make it a little more dynamic. We'll definitely add the live callers back again. And we're putting up your live comments and questions. We'll do the questions in a minute.
Ryan, let me jump in right here to
Oh, yeah.
answer your question, Chris, on Andrew Voorhees. He has around 2,800 career snaps right now. So I've been tracking every USC snap since 2015. So since that time, I've got 2 players in their careers that have gone over 3,000. So he's going to, you get offensive lineman will get 800 with this offense, maybe 900 to 1,000, depending on how long they're in there in games. If they're getting it, running up the score a little bit, which we think might be possible, maybe a little bit less. But he could get up about 3,500. And like I said, there's only been 2 players that go over 3,000
Can I
since
guess?
I've been tracking. Sure, go for it.
You have? Can I get a hint though?
They're 4-year starters. That's the only way you're going to get that. Both on the defensive side.
No. 4-year starter.
We'll table it. You guys think about it. We'll come back
Okay.
to it.
All right.
You guys leave your comments as well if you can guess who since 2015 has played over 3,000 snaps.
Good
or snaps
trivia.
themselves.
Good trivia.
I like
Trivia.
that. One last topic, I think, unless you guys have something else before we get on to questions, because there's been a lot of questions. We want to get to those. The Thursday practice was I was actually out of town, so I wasn't there, but saw your guys' interviews and stuff. Alex Grinch kind of featured there. I put up a story on him, kind of what he had to say about the accountability. He talked a lot about the defensive line. Was asked about people that stood out in the first name. Your favorite, Tulitu Pelotu, came up right away. Maybe Chris, we'll start with you and then get to Shoddy. Like defensive thoughts from the Thursday practice.
Yeah, I mean that's the second time he has mentioned Thule by name. That's someone that obviously is one of those foundational pieces for the front. So just good reinforcement to hear that Grinch is talking him up and seeing that he's standing out. I think he mentioned Shane Lee as well as someone who's standing out. Mekhi Blackman, those are guys who stood out when the pads came on. No surprise, all those guys are veteran guys. Shane Lee, from a national championship program, he's not afraid of physicality. And Blackman, who is a multi-year guy at Colorado, so no surprise to see those guys standing out. Did get to talk to Tyrone Taleni a little bit, the other new defensive lineman, the Kansas State transfer. Super nice guy, super genuine guy.
Okay.
Kind of an interesting story. Grew up in Western Samoa. I think I said that correctly. Shotgun will correct me if I'm not. Samoa. What they call independent Samoa. It's only been playing football for 3 years. Played rugby. They don't have high school football in Samoa. So he was playing rugby, came to,
Kansas State.
Well, he went to JUCO.
Okay.
I'm trying to say, Samoa, is that part of the U.S.? Does anyone know off the top? The trivia?
American Samoa?
I mean, if it's independent Samoa, I don't know if it's...
It's not a
That's probably
state,
not.
but it's...
So
it's
when
like
he
a
came to
territory
the
thing.
U.S., I don't know. Someone's going to correct me about that. I know it in the
Came
comments.
to the mainland. You can put it
Came
that
to
way.
the mainland. That's when he started playing football. He went to JUCO, went to Kansas State. Now he's here. He's got the call. He was a little bit surprised that he got the call. He's got family in L.A. I believe he said his uncle, and they're big USC fans. So it's just been a dream come true to be out here. And he's been playing everywhere on the defensive line. Defensive tackle, nose, defensive end. He says he's more comfortable right now at the defensive end or defensive tackle spot. He's a little bit smaller, but he is quicker, which sort of this defense sort of values that quickness. So I kind of had him in that defensive end spot early. It's kind of one of those rotational guys with Nick Figueroa. So yeah, definitely not the biggest guy in the world, but he's got, it seems like, a lot of heart, and he's a rugby guy, so he's not afraid of that physicality and pretty quick out there when I watch him in drills. So the other takeaway I had, Solomon Tuliapupu, working with the defensive linemen on Thursday, which I thought was really interesting. I posted some videos. Alex Grinch kind of mentioning, they're getting some guys some cross training, trying to find the best position. Solo was a little bit interesting. He started the first week at the rush end spot, kind of that outside linebacker, and now they have him down here with the defensive lineman. He's not, as big as a traditional defensive lineman.
No.
He's about 6'3", maybe 240, 250 on a heavier week. But he is violent enough to play down there. Solo is one of those in-your-face kind of guys. I love telling the story, but one time I watched him headbutt a teammate on the sideline to get him pumped up for a championship game, and Solo wasn't wearing a helmet. The other guy was, and he just ate it like it was nothing. So that guy's not afraid of contact. He is violent. I saw him working a little bit. They were They were working on like disengaging blocking with Sean Nua, and Sean Nua was kind of like coaching him up a little bit because he's not really used to engaging with offensive linemen like that. Moving down to the defensive end or defensive linemen. So we'll see if that holds true. Maybe it was just like a one-time thing. Maybe he'll be back at rush end this week. But Roy Manning, is a big fan of his. Obviously he said he's rooting for him, given all those injury things he's had to go through. He called him a dense person. When you bump into him, you move. He's a dense dude. He's a strong dude. So a lot of people are rooting for Solo, and I know there's a lot of posters on YouTube and Twitter and on the P that are hoping for a lot, and he seems to be doing really well this spring so far. He's been healthy, doing all the practices, so that was kind of interesting. I saw on Thursday.
Yeah, I love the dense is great. Like when we played, growing up playing volleyball, like sometimes someone just when they hit the ball, like you get a lot of snap or whatever, but some guys just hit it like he hits a heavy ball. When he hits it, it's just like. It's just move. There's something to it. Like saying he's dense. Like you just get that. Like there's no like if you're brushing into the guy, it's like playing like the post against Shaq. Like there's this space being taken up, and it's just going to be hard to move it all. Shotty, any thoughts before we get to some questions on defense or anything you want to talk about?
I mean, just listening to Alex Grinch, it seems like he's happy with the effort they're getting, but still a long ways to go, especially on the defensive side. He said, hey, we're getting some positives, we're getting some negatives, but, we're not where we want to be yet, obviously. So they're trying to manage what they can do right now and trying to figure it out. But it sounds like a lot of work still to do on that defensive side.
Yeah. Well, why don't we? Oh, is there something
One
else?
quick thing I did ask about Demoni Jackson and Josh Jackson.
Okay.
Those obviously Demoni, currently the highest rated prospect in the 2022 high school class. So
Which doesn't matter.
Which doesn't matter. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter anymore.
But it matters when we talk about it. But obviously he's coming off that knee injury that he suffered at the beginning of his senior year. Did not play his senior year. He's still rehabbing. I asked Alex Grinch about those two guys because I see them doing conditioning running. That sort of like means they're kind of like in the middle of being back. He says it's one of those things where you'd like to press the accelerator on them, get them back in the fold, but it's also spring. We had mentioned that it's spring, so you don't need them right back right away. So it's kind of like let's tone it down a little bit. Let's work them back in. Let's take our time. They're really excited to get their hands on them. Get them back in there, but they don't want to rush it.
Okay.
And so they're going to take their time with that. And if they get them for a little bit of spring, they'll be happy with that. But if not, they're going to work that obviously into the summer. So kind of sounds like, we won't see them until late in spring, if at all. So that's something to watch. But he joked. He said, I heard someone told me he's pretty fast. So I want to get my hands on him.
Again.
You want a guy with that kind of 10-3 speed, especially on a defense that needs more speed.
Yeah.
So
it's a bummer because USC only had two early enrollees, C.J. Williams and Demoni Jackson. And if Jackson's not going to take out this, play in the spring, that's sort of like he wasn't an early enrollee at all anyway. But just being there, the mental reps and all that stuff you get, I think it's going to be helpful, give you a leg up. But it'd be great to see him out on the field, especially because the whole secondary is going to be new and everyone out there is going to be different.
And the other cornerback signing was there on Thursday. Fabian Ross, your boy.
I like Fabian.
He was at Thursday practice. He came out with Demoni and took in practice. So
that's pretty cool.
He got a little mental reps in as well. So
yeah, Zion Branch is probably like just my favorite. Like just when I got to see him in Hawaii in person, then I went out to interview him at Bishop Gorman a month or so ago. Just really impressed with him and his brother too. But like I think Zion's going to be a stud. What were you saying, Shotgun?
Just his brother, and just he's my guy. He's my guy already. That's
Zachariah.
Yeah, Ryan's already got a guy though, in this class, and that's what happens. So we'll be hearing about Zion for the next 4 years if he stays at USC. From Ryan saying that's
so
my
Zion's
guy.
your guy.
Zion's my guy.
TV? Okay.
Yeah. We bond a little bit in Hawaii. It was fun. I mean, it's Hawaii, like what are you going to do? It's great.
Same thing. Ryan, anytime he interviews someone in Hawaii, he falls in love with him.
Oh, Talanoa.
Talanoa, yeah.
Talanoa.
TV wasn't in
Hawaii does that to you.
It was great. I've told the story on in the war room, but literally I was going to do the Sand Dunes in Manhattan Beach. I guess it was about a month or so ago now. And it's 8 in the morning. It's just opening, and there's a dude in a USC sweatshirt over there. I'm like, Talanoa. It was like Talanoa Funga. He was like literally drove up from San Diego. Troy Polamalu is coaching him up, training him down there. And he's like, yeah, Troy used to do the sand dunes. So he literally drove up, 2 hours to drive to do the sand dunes. We did the sand dunes together for like an hour, and then he left. But he's still my guy. I like Talanoa. He scored a touchdown in the playoffs. I mean, that's pretty cool.
I haven't cycled out of my guy, Nick Figueroa, yet, so
You still
I'm still on the Nicky Figs trail, so.
Yeah.
Back to the Branch brothers. Zachariah this week with the 515-pound squats, and a lot of people immediately commented, he shouldn't be doing that. It's a max squat, guys. That's what you do. But he's listed at 172 pounds. 515-pound squats, which tells you where that explosiveness comes from that he has. So he's going to be fun to watch this year, playing for Bishop Gorman, and then in the future playing for USC. And some people have One Blue Love mentioned he reminds him of Adore, and I think that's a pretty good comp. That's an interesting player that when Adore was on the offensive side, I think you see some similarities there with Zachariah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to get to questions. So if you're on YouTube, we'll try to put them up on the screen. And
Ryan, real quick,
go ahead.
Just to clarify on the Samoas, as I was didn't want to interrupt too much there, Chris, but yeah, American Samoa is obviously a U.S. territory. That's why it's called American. But there's an independent Samoa, which apparently, which from our guys in the comments, thanks for the help here, but was previously Western Samoa. They gained their independence from New Zealand in 1962, apparently. Did not know all that, but a little history lesson.
So
here
they're
as well.
not a U.S. territory?
They are not a U.S. territory. They are an independent.
So
Wow.
I was right.
See, little did you guys know, you learn history on Tunnel Vision.
We do what we can.
Shotgun, a big fan of watching history.
Yeah, that's right. Got to watch that history.
Very nice. But we're going to get to your questions. If you're on YouTube, put question first so I can see them, and we'll try to go through these and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. But what do we got first, Nicole?
All right, so first up, Walker Lamer, his question is, how would you all evaluate the team captain leadership aspect? Are there folks who are getting respect from their peers and the coaches to be the go-to when things get tough?
Yeah, I mean, and I think we've seen some pretty good, player leaders, but they weren't very vocal. They're sort of lead by example. We might have some more of that, like a Shane Lee. He seems like a no nonsense kind of guy. Caleb Williams is going to be someone. He has the gift of gab. He's going to be leading.
Talked about his already stepping up to that leadership role.
Yeah.
Of, breaking down the huddle right away. So we've already talked about that sort of leadership aspect to him. But Lincoln, we kind of mentioned that you want the quarterback to be any good team that you've really had or he's been a part of. The quarterback is one of your focal leaders as a main leader. You have leaders across all positions, but if you have a really good leader quarterback, usually you have a really good team. And he wasn't referring to Caleb. He was referring to both quarterbacks, Caleb and Miller Moss, as something he wanted them to develop as leaders for this spring camp.
Yeah.
That was one of his goals for them, is kind of step up and kind of be more vocal and take on that role.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting, him talking about the quarterbacks, and said basically any championship team will have a quarterback that steps up and is a true leader of the team, not just a lead by example guy, but a guy that everyone gravitates towards, and that's Caleb Williams so far. He's a beacon. Everyone he's the light, and everyone else is the mosquitoes coming around.
Yeah. Got another one up there, Nicole?
Yeah, all right. So next up, we have from Jasper Smith, who will be the most productive wide receiver in 2022. His money is on Gary Bryant, by the way.
Gary Bryant Jr. What do you guys think?
I would say Mario Williams.
Oh, okay.
I like
I
that.
said that weird. I don't know why. But I would say
Mario Williams?
Let me say that again. Hold on. Everyone's reset.
Redo.
I would say Mario Williams.
There you go.
Oh, I like that better. It was
that
like
confidence.
like Anchorman, where they put the question mark at the end. You just read it as
Mario Williams.
Mario Williams.
Listening to some people that I've seen that have seen some practices, full practices, listening to some of the players I've chatted with, Brendan Rice is a guy that everyone has come away just enamored with the way he plays, the physical skills that are there. The last name doesn't hurt. And I think that he's a guy that's, with that big gaping hole of no Drake London and who is going to fill in into some of those vacancies that are there. Obviously, Mario Williams is an interesting one. Obviously, has the connection with Caleb Williams already from high school camps to going to Oklahoma, following him, coming to USC. But Brendan Rice is a guy that I've got my eye on. I'm definitely going to be, watching as many reps of his as I can during the spring camp when I'm out there, is to check and see what he can do and how well he moves.
I'll let you go after too, Nicole. I'm leaning towards Mario Williams, but like my heart wants to say, for some reason, Kyle Ford's going to be out there and just just lighten it up. So he's one of my guys too. I like me some Kyle Ford. Since you already said Mario Williams, I'm going to go on a limb and say Kyle Ford. Any thoughts, Nicole?
See, we were talking about our guys earlier, right? Mine's got to be Brendan Rice too.
Okay.
I've talked to him a few times at practice. For whoever watched the instant analysis, he's the guy who compared it to vanilla ice cream. Don't know what that really means. But he's got this energy about him that, in my opinion, is really unique on this team. And I think he is going to be the guy. So he's my guy.
Yeah. Bigger dude. There's just, he's.
And Shotgun's right, the last name doesn't hurt, but.
Yeah. Having a famous dad.
He's got some density to him.
There's some density to him. Exactly. Yeah. So, you need that every once in a while.
Don't forget about Taj Washington.
I was about to say,
blossoms in this offense this year. And if everyone else, if he's not got to be a guy on the outside and they can move him around a little bit more, then I think that he gains his confidence a little bit more, because I think that's what hurt him last year. I think this offense will help, some explosive plays, which gives receivers their confidence a little bit more, and he'll break out a little bit, I think.
He's already gold-plated, too.
Say bet.
Yeah, he is.
Bet.
There you go.
Yes,
in the
that's
camera,
perfect.
Bet.
Okay, not like that. Whatever. We'll do it again.
It's more casual. It's like bet.
Yeah, don't go. Bet. Don't do that. Just be cool, Ryan.
Moving on.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Anyways, Ganja Gorilla will USC have a 1,000-yard rusher on the team? If so, who?
That is a tough one.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's tough.
It's Travis Dye.
I'm going with yes, because Lincoln Riley has always had a 1,000-yard rusher pretty much. So I think that's the easy answer. The question of who, I think Travis Dye is your front runner, right?
Has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the most versatile. You talked
about. That's the question: is he just going to get the ball in the backfield on swing passes as well as other routes, since they'll be running those this year?
Swing passes? No, that wasn't.
Since Darwin Barlow let us know that they will run more than swing passes this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 3 scholarship running backs right now. You have Rayleigh Brown coming in. He's probably going to be more of a pass-catching kind of guy. Travis Dye is the most versatile. And you talk to people at Oregon, they're bummed that a guy like that is coming down here and potentially, be one of the better running backs in the Pac-12. I love what I've seen from Austin Jones at Stanford. Didn't have the greatest year last year, but that offense was just god-awful. And Darwin Barlow's he's a fan favorite too. You love talking to Brendan Rice. Man, you love talking to some Darwin Barlow. And all those guys are transfers in from elsewhere. I would say you got to go with Dye, but like Shotgun mentioned, Lincoln Riley has put up a whole bunch of 1,000-yard rushers out there where he talked about playing 8 to 10 guys. So like the previous question, when you're talking about who's going to stand out, there's not going to be a Drake London. There's not going to be one guy that's going to catch every ball. There's going to be 6, 7, 8 guys that are all contributing, and all the guys we mentioned are probably going to be part of that. But for whatever reason, it seems like with the running backs rotation, it's that you can have a guy that gets featured and ends up getting 1,000 yards and catches a bunch of passes and things like that. So I think Travis Dye's got to be your leader in the clubhouse. We've heard good things about his leadership and stuff as well. But there's just not that many options right now. And, Shotgun mentions all the time, running backs get hurt fairly often. I think any one of those guys are capable of doing it. I think it's more than likely if someone stays healthy, they're going to get the rock a little bit more. They'll probably be featured and, end up getting 1,000 yards. So I think it will be Travis Dye, and he'll do it.
Also, though, there is the potential of they just split it so much that they don't. You got 4 guys or 3 guys that get 600 to 800, and no one actually gets to 1,000. Because Raleigh Brown's coming as well in the fall. He's a guy who's going to get the ball in his hands in different ways as well.
Yeah. Hold on. I just put up another one from our buddy Jasper. Hold on. Let me go. It's all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Jasper Smith. I know it's been asked for the last 3 to 4 years, but I got to ask, how did Solo look?
You kind of talked about this a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of talked about this a little, but as I said, played Russian the first week, did some defensive line work on Thursday. He looks good. He's been out there. That's the number one thing. He's been at practice. Obviously, we can't see the middle part, but it seems like he has been a full participant. does not seem hindered at all. I was told, going to the camp that, it's probably the healthiest he's ever felt. So that's if he could just get through the camp 100%, get valuable reps and stuff, something he was kind of held back a little bit in fall camp and during the season, that's what you want. So yeah, it seems like right now he's on the right track.
Yeah, it's we've seen him at a practice or two over the last couple of years, and he was like, oh, make a big play, like one big play, but he was only in for part of the practice. Now he's out there, and I feel like this is one of the Rehab Island things where he's contributing regularly in practice, and that's just something we hadn't seen pretty much since he got to campus. So the fact that they moved him around, the fact that they're trying in different places, that they've had comments like him being dense, I think you just have to feel a lot better about him contributing. And Shotgun, I mean, remember we would talk about on television, right? Like people would ask about Solo. You're like, we can't. Like until he's practicing, we're just not gonna. You can't really say anything more about him. Now that he's practicing, I think we can now talk about him.
Yeah, he's made it through a week of practices. That was my rule. Until he makes it through a week of practices consistently, then you can't talk about him. And it's great to see that he has so far made it through healthy. I haven't seen him on Rehab Island. Haven't seen him. He's been there participating at least during the individual periods. So, it's great that he's back out there, and hopefully he finds a spot where he can be productive and can be a valuable member of this team, whether it's on special teams, as a third down guy, as a, whatever. If he can find a role, I think that's just going to be an awesome story because of how much he's gone through. I don't care if he, comes up with any stats at all, but to see him back out there and just being a productive member of the team would be great.
Yeah. He could be a special teams monster.
Oh,
Could
that's
be.
true too.
Yeah.
And just doing that, we would talk about him. Like we just
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so next question. Andrew Hogue says, why do some players wear a padded helmet on top of the regular helmet while others don't? Good question.
It's to protect the quarterbacks. Ryan, you're going to be a quarterback.
Okay.
Give me a throw, coming in, rush through the ow! It protects your hand from getting broken. Or getting caught, or just coming down hard and breaking it. It's for guys that are around the quarterback the most.
It's
offensive
not
lineman,
only,
defensive
no,
lineman.
They have tight ends have them too.
Is it for concussions?
Yes, when you block, you have helmet-to-helmet contact, so it's just negating some of that helmet-to-helmet contact and lessening the strike force of it, as well as protecting the quarterback's
I'm gonna
hands.
push back on you because we were told directly that's what it's for.
Why would the tight ends have it then?
Well, they can block too.
Because they don't want to be left out. I don't know.
And they're blocking
blockers too.
The research has shown repetitive strikes helmet to helmet is what leads to a lot of concussions. Why so many linemen have it rather than having the giant hits that wide receivers or DBs may take. Oftentimes you have CTE in offensive linemen more often than your outside skill positions. So it is something that has been worked on. It's why a number of teams have gone to it. It's not just for the quarterbacks.
I'm pushing back.
So I mean, I think it could be. I think it could be both, but
And the tight ends are H-backs too, so they're in the backfield.
Yeah. All right.
But anyways, next question. Who's your first five from Jigger Roms? Sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly. Who's your first five off the bus?
All right. So the two SEC guys for sure. So you got Shane Lee
SEC.
and Romello Height.
Brendan
Hey,
Rice
calm
comes
down
out.
over there, lady.
All right. So those dudes got to be they're in the first seat.
I think. Corey's pretty jacked.
Yeah.
Corey.
It's basically your offensive lineman you're a defensive lineman or linebackers pretty much.
I think Thule's pretty intimidating.
Yep. There's five. If you want to get six, maybe Cortland Ford.
I was going to say Cortland Ford potentially. Brendan, did you say Brendan Rice or?
I said Brendan Rice. I
would
think
say
you
Brendan
could
Rice,
consider that in there. He's got a great smile though, and that's not what you want. You want a scowl. You don't want a big old smile.
Well, Height's smiling too. He's very southern. He's very Romello Height. He's very yes sir, no sir. He's not going to be.
Yeah, but I'm just staring at the muscles at that point, so I'm not really looking at the smile. So if Brendan Rice doesn't smile, he can come.
So Brendan Rice, don't smile. That's what
All
he's
right.
saying.
Good stuff. Thank you for that. Is there any other questions you want to do from? I'll try to pull up another one here.
I'm overwhelmed. I'm not doing it.
Chris, you got it.
Or Shadi, do you have any questions you want to
Christopher Dimmick had a question. He said, what's current or future player has a Beats-esque NIL deal in his future? So who we're going to see getting the big NIL deals in the future? Obviously, any quarterback. So Malachi Nelson is a guy who's been rumored to have a couple of NIL deals potentially when he gets to USC already. But anybody on the current roster you think that, a big year this year could end up with some big NIL deals for them as well?
I mean, it helps to have the 5-star kind of pedigree. Like,
Not that it matters.
not that it
No, it
matters.
doesn't matter, guys.
But like, say a Demoni Jackson ends up being like the starting corner. I don't know. Does he have any kind of like a Dory sort of roles going on? Does he do some fun things? Being a former 5-star, big high school. Yeah, maybe he's someone that could get some big deals. He's on the defensive side of the ball.
If you want to go specific, like beats, I think a guy named Young Concrete, Mateo
There you go.
Ugialele, 5-star.
He said
defensive-
current roster.
Ooh,
It said
Ungalale.
future. Ungale. It says future.
Oh, I thought Shotgun was talking about current.
Yeah,
He was talking
we
both.
can do either way. Either way.
He said Malachi Nelson.
All right.
He's not even on the
Anyways.
team.
Your voice got
Anyways.
super high.
He's not even on the team.
Chris, you think about your current. I'll give you a future and a current. Future, Zachariah Branch.
I was gonna
think,
say him,
is
yeah.
because of the electricity of the moves that he has. But on the current roster, not necessarily on the current roster yet, but already signed, Raleek Brown is another player similar that could be used in a very Reggie Bush-esque way. So if he puts up some of those, just remember the hype around Dylan Baxter, that one spring practice where he made 3 or 4 guys miss on one run, and he had another big run. And remember the hype just from that. Raleek Brown's the type of player that can make those happen on a regular. So, and he's a guy that has the acceleration to then take it after making a guy miss in the backfield, then take it for a big gain, which is something Dylan Baxter kind of missed out on. So I think he's a guy that could definitely capture the allure of NIL deals and the fans in general, that they want to, see him on some propaganda to be able to purchase something.
Propaganda.
What about like Sayer Wright?
Marketing
I mean,
materials. Sorry.
Sayer Wright, who started alongside
Sayer Wright, yep.
LeBron James. I mean, in a movie. Not a good movie, but he was in a movie. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it was not very good. Yeah, I mean, he's like a freaking movie star. Like, I guess you could get some deals, right? Like, you do commercials or whatever, like something like
Should I
that.
call him a movie star?
Well, he's in it.
He made an appearance.
But yes, I think that's a great point, Ryan. That he's got to have some production. He's got to get on the field, and if he makes some plays, a couple interceptions. Obviously, he's already got the acting chops, so that just is going to enhance his marketability for an NIL deal to come in and say, hey, we want to put you in a commercial or whatever.
And I think that's big for USC because, like you said, he hasn't really contributed. If he ends up being a player that you can watch, you're like, oh yeah, that dude was in Space Jam 2. Like what? Like that. That's just kind of, if you want to do the uniqueness of being a USC football player or a USC football team, and Lincoln Riley's trying to bring that back, get the 5 stars coming, get people excited when you make a phone call to a defensive lineman in Georgia or a linebacker in New Jersey or whatever it is. They're like, oh yeah, it's USC, they're back. And anything like that, where you're like, their cornerback was in a movie with LeBron James. Like that kind of stuff is like, you're not getting that if you're in Nebraska, right? You're not getting that if you're at Florida State. So it's one of those things where the team can use something like that it's sort of you kind of build up that mystique about USC, like, oh, it's different at USC, and Lincoln Riley's starting to do that. But all those little things kind of help being around just the entertainment industry. You might get some guys that are extras in movies, and that could be a potential NIL thing where the guys are working on sets and they're just like in the background of some shots, or they need big guys for a fight scene or whatever it is. There's a lot of former USC football players that are in the stunt business and acting business and things. And USC, I think, featured a lot of the guys on their Twitter account recently. But if you could get like current players, I mean, obviously having one in a movie is amazing, but just being extras for things like that's just something that like you can't really offer at other places. So I'm curious to see how that kind of grows going forward, because that could be a big NIL thing for USC football.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name off the top of my head. His son played at USC in the
Alan Graf.
Graf, yeah. So Alan Graf is one of the biggest football film coordinators that there is in Hollywood. I don't know if he's done anything recently because I'm very late to watching movies, but when watching the credits, you'll always see his name pop up. You'll see him in the movies as a defensive line coach or something, but he's the one that kind of choreographs the football and stuff. Former USC player. His son played at USC, Kevin Graf.
2 sons, Derek Graf also.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So
Derek Graf, if you ever watch Zombieland, one of my favorite movies, the big ugly clown at the end that the main character has to like hit in the head with a mallet. That's Derek Graf. So he gets,
nice.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Former USC player. So see, there's those connections that other schools can't have. So yeah, if someone like Sierra Wright, if he can perform on the field, that just broadens the things. And, it's very similar to Gerard was talking on the Two-Star Composite podcast plug for Chris Trevino there, but about what it was like in 2005, 2006, and them running out of the tunnel and the flashes from everyone's disposable cameras and stuff, and just the hype, the goosebumps moments of USC being at its peak. And then you have the celebrities on the sideline, and you have everything, and all those things just build on itself. So it all starts with USC playing well, and if that happens, it builds and builds, and then it becomes, it snowballs and gets bigger and bigger rolling down the hill, and makes it easier for USC going forward for the future players and their future NIL deals, the future, the future of recruiting at USC, because there's so many more allures there, and people want to be around the program, and being around Will Ferrell or being around Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson, being around those people when they're on the sidelines, and hey, you meet someone and suddenly they're like, hey, come out for this thing that I got. It's a small part. We'll just put you in the back, but you'll have fun, and that builds upon it and builds upon it, and that's how things work.
Yeah.
All right, we got another question up here from Adler Corval. Biggest shocker to hit the portal after spring football is over, guys?
So we expect USC to lose a couple more players at least, right?
Asking me to name somebody?
I know, that's tough.
That is tough.
I refuse.
Who would be okay, so who would be I think it would be shocking if a Miller Moss hit the portal. Yeah, so that would be I think he's sticking around. I know, Caleb Williams is going to be your starter, but I would be shocked if that happens.
I would not be shocked if that happened.
Really?
You wouldn't, Chris?
Quarterbacks,
true.
I've spoken about this before. Quarterbacks are highly desirable, especially a young freshman quarterback who could, doesn't want to sit. Obviously, his role is a little more important, and he's talked about that, just being that there's only 2 right now. Don't know what USC is going to do in terms of bringing in a third one, or if Mo Hassan gets back. So he is vital. You want to keep him around, but there's no guarantee that he sticks around. It's just if he went in the portal, some program is going to hit up Miller Moss. A quarterback that hasn't played a lot, but he was a big time prospect at a high school, Elite 11 quarterback. He's going to get picked up by someone. I don't think that would be a shock if he looked for an opportunity to start right away as opposed to sitting. Assuming, as we've talked about, that he is the backup moving forward.
Yeah, I think he can graduate after another year or something, and I think there's a reasons he would want to stay after that. I'm not saying he would stick around a long time or whatever. Who knows? But I kind of be a little shocked at that. Anyone off the top of your head, Shotgun?
I'm still shocked by Parker Lewis. Your starting kicker goes in the portal. That just seems still was a strange one. Some of the stuff we heard behind the scenes, it seemed made more sense. But when I initially heard it, I was just like, "What? Parker Lewis is in there? A guy that started every game that he was healthy for." So that one was definitely a surprise with the leg that he has and everything. But now USC's got Alex Stadhouse on scholarship, and he did a good job when he was throwing the fire the past 2 years. And so I'm curious to see how he's going to do this year. Should be fun.
And I'm looking at my scholarship distribution chart on USCFootball.com. I'm going to go out and say any offensive skill player, I would be shocked at this point. They only have 3 running backs, so I don't think anyone's leaving there. 2 of them already transferred in. There's down to 10 wide receivers, and I just feel like everyone could be a contributor, I don't know who would go in that group. It could be maybe a John Jackson or a Kyle Ford or something, but I kind of think they're going to stick around. And even, with the tight end group, I think those guys are going to stick around too. So I would be shocked if an offensive skill player enters the portal after spring.
Say they're going to play 8 and 9 guys.
You only got 10.
And if you're blowing out dudes, our teams, you're gonna play. So you're gonna get time in that fourth quarter, early third quarter, or whatever. So there's plenty of snaps to go around, especially if you put up points as we expect them to do.
Hold on, we got one. Let me put this one up. This is for you, Chris.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So it's just Jay's asking, can we talk about the NIL deals for linemen? I believe some former Trojans are trying to get that going for the big guys.
Did we mention this last week on the show, or the Sam
we
Baker
did.
stuff? Okay. But Chris had a great story with Sam Baker. They're trying to put some NIL deals together this is mostly for current players, not like necessarily an incentive to go there. But I think you're going to start to see stuff like this pop up. We've seen the collectives and everything, but that's great. If you're Sam Baker, former All-American, you're like, hey, man, I want to help the guys that are on the team right now. So
yeah, it's not. Yeah, I mean, excuse me, Sam, is sort of the face, the main organizer of this, but it's about a collective of maybe a dozen former players at the moment when I talked to him, including Frosty Rucker, who was sort of...
He was at practice on Tuesday.
Yeah, he was at practice on Tuesday. He was walking around with Mike Bone and looked like some important-looking people. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, maybe, I don't know. But, he's sort of... I was going to make a joke, but I can't make that joke. But he's kind of represented the defensive side of, because it's for both. It's not just offensive linemen, it's for defensive linemen, and it's going to be sort of a luncheon where they will have linemen come. Fans can come, interact with them, hang out with them, take photos, autographs, talk to them, whatever it may be. Is it going to be for every lineman on the team? I don't know. It's not like the Texas initiative. That's the big, sexy one where it's like you have the numbers 50K
for every lineman.
For every lineman. I don't know if it's going to be that. I think the goal is just to raise as much money as they can to sort of distribute it that way. Might just be starters. Might just be the top guys. I don't know. That those details haven't come out. I'll try to get more as those come out. Sam told me that as those come out, we can talk more about it. So we'll see. That is supposed to start this year in a couple months, probably in the summer. That will be the first one, and, a lot more details will be available soon, hopefully next month. But, yeah, that's sort of the deal right now moving forward. And, again, no monetary number. I don't know if it's like 10K or whatever. I have no idea any of those numbers right now. But
free pizza or 100K, who knows? Like whatever.
Yeah, who knows?
It's funny. Like if you go into Heritage Hall, they used to. I don't know if they still do, but they had like a chart that would show like a lot of the positions are endowed. Like so, their scholarships are taken care of by some endowment or whatever, like for different positions. And this is going to be a whole different sort of endowment thing where you're just like, hey, I'm a former kicker. I'm a rich USC alumni, and I'm like, I'm going to make sure USC starting kicker is taken care of every year, and they're going to, I have money that's set aside for him. He has to do like whatever. They have to have something that'll do like a couple autograph settings or like do a video or something with me, and I give him $10,000, and that's just sort of a thing. Like I could see that being like each position group, there might be a former player or whatever, just like if Matt Leinert's just like, yeah, man, I'm going to make sure all the quarterbacks are taken care of or whatever it is, something like that. I could see that happening a lot. The collectives are one thing where you're sort of like, that seems more like alumni that are trying to incentivize high school players coming to the school. This would just be more about, hey, I'm the former left guard and I hit it big in like stock market or whatever, or I was an NFL player for a long time, and I'm going to take care of that position like going forward. So that'll be interesting to see if we start seeing a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah. It's interesting, actually. A question just came through that I'm curious on what you guys think is Ryan Fox asked best case scenario record for this season. What do you guys think?
You guys talking about this?
Undefeated and they win a national championship. That's the best case scenario. I mean,
true.
Realistic best case scenario.
That was not part of the question. You just answer the questions that are asked here. You got to ask better questions if you want a realistic one.
I think there's a pretty big range. Ryan, thanks for the question. I think there is a pretty big range because if things fall right, like there's no like this roster is significantly better than it was. The Pac-12 is not very good. The North is pretty wide open. If you make it to the championship game, you can easily win the conference. Oregon's be the one team that you would want to beat, and they have a brand new head coach too. Utah's good. They bring a lot of guys back, like legit. USC has to play Utah on the road. But that, Caleb Williams is a guy that I think could win you a game by himself on with anyone on the roster or any team on the schedule. So I could see, is an 11-1 thing out of the question? No, I don't. I think things would have to fall right. But I think it also a 7-5 season could fall that way too. And I think they would lose some weird games. And I know you guys were talking about it on the composite recruiting podcast. And Gerard brought up a good point as far as if you remember Pete Carroll's first year that was 6-6, losing to Utah in the Vegas Bowl, they were way more competitive in all of those games, even though they lost some. You were sort of learning on the as you were going, kind of figuring out what was going on. And the next year they end up winning the Orange Bowl, and it could be something sort of similar to that where you're just competitive in games. And I think that's what you want to judge this on. Even if the record's 8-4, which is a significant improvement, are you getting blown out? Did Notre Dame blow you off the field? Did Oregon State push you around? Did a terrible Stanford team run all over you? Those kind of things is that happening? Because if that is, then the team isn't improving that much. But if they go 7-5 or 8-4, and all the games were close, and it was man, I can't believe they lost one at the end. I think that shows you that's what you want more. I think that's more important than the record. Is that you're in all the games, they're not getting blown out by all these teams. That's one thing. You look at the record for Clay Helton. There's it wasn't very good at especially towards the end. But the games that you weren't competitive in, there's so many of them. And I think that's what you want to try to avoid. And you hire someone like Lincoln Riley to make sure that that's not going to be happening. So I don't think it will, but I think the record could move around quite a bit.
They could go undefeated in the regular season. It's not unrealistic for that to happen. So that's best case scenario. What you do in the Pac-12 championship, what you do beyond that. But they could, they're going to be within a 5-point dog of every team. And if you're within 3 to 5 points, that means you have a chance to win that game. So they're not going to be 12-point underdogs to Utah, even though Utah should be a top 10 team. It's going to be playing at Utah. But I think it'll be a 5.5 point, dog in that game, depending on how the teams are playing at that time. But, Caleb Williams is a dynamic player, can do some different things, but the roster continues to change. And by the time they get to the fall, if everyone buys in, that's the big thing to me. That I think that'll determine 2 to 3 wins. The variation there is how much buy-in does the entire roster have, because the roster is going to be much more talented than it was last year, just because the influx of transfers and the influx of transfers they plan to still bring in, and the fact that there are some talented players out there. I think there's been a lot more talented players enter the transfer portal this year than there were even last year. I think when there was some big name guys go in last year, it was every big name program was oh, we got to get on this guy. Whereas this year, it seems like there's just been an influx of more talent, and you see people like Mezadore, I think it is, at West Virginia, and the coach coming on saying he's just disappointed and heartbroken that the kid leaves. He's a super talented kid. He's looking for bigger and better. I think you're seeing more players enter that probably would normally stay, but are super talented and just looking for that championship level team. And it's become more free agency, so USC can turn the roster around a lot quicker. So, it's perfectly feasible for them to go undefeated in the regular season. Do I think they're going to do that necessarily? No, but it is feasible.
Yeah. Well, we're quarter after the hour. We should probably wrap things up. Was there anything else, Shotgun, you wanted to do question-wise?
Quick rapid fire here.
Let's do a quick one, yeah.
All right. We got to answer this question. We had multiple questions about it. One Blue Love 23. There's a rumor going around that Josh Connerly is in Eugene right now. His dad's supposed to post an image related to Oregon on his Instagram, and he deleted it soon after. Any truth to this? I don't know what his dad deleted or didn't delete. His dad was flying this weekend. Does that mean he necessarily went to Eugene? If he goes to Eugene, does that mean he's going to DeAnthony Thomas? Because that was a lot of questions that we got. And I've been texting with some people about that. And one person mentioned DeAnthony Thomas was committed. This is not quite the same situation. And they also said Josh Connerly's pretty big. You would think someone would have seen him if he was in Eugene, if this was this covert thing to get him there. So don't get freaked out yet. Still a couple days before he makes that final decision. Corey Leith had a question for me. Do you think they will have more speed as a whole at the wide receiver position? I think so. I think you guys would probably agree with that. And also in the wide receiver group, Does Michael Jackson have a role in this team? Thought he showed some promise last year. I thought he showed some promise in the spring, kind of plateaued a little bit in the fall. He's got to take that next step forward. I don't know if you guys have seen anything on him so far in the fall or in the spring so far, the individual reps you've seen.
Yeah, he's been out there. I mean, I thought what we can see, I thought he looked good.
Tim had a question, Chris, for you. Is Peely 100%? If not, who do you have in your way too early, too deep at nose tackle?
I was hoping I could get through the rest of the show without talking anymore.
Oh, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Peely seems to be 100%. Does seem like they're slowly maybe integrating him a little bit. Don't want to throw everything at him, especially a guy coming off a significant injury like an Achilles.
Yeah.
Which is, a tough football injury to come back from because the way you're moving and cutting and planning and all that stuff. So I think it seems like they're sort of slowly moving him in. I know he wants to drop a little bit more weight, so we could possibly mix in with some other positions, defensive tackle, move out a little bit on the edge, stuff like that. Not rush end, but like defensive end, defensive tackle. Too early, too deep. Right now, it's probably Stanley Tauafu, who was, kind of the starter at nose tackle last season. He's kind of undersized for that, for a defensive lineman. He was a linebacker coming out of high school. But, again, he has the thing that his defense covets, which is quickness.
Yeah.
And, he is strong. He is a dense guy.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen him up close.
Quick and dense is good.
Quick and dense. And then I'd probably say the other one, Jamar Sakona, right now. So those would kind of be my top two if I had to just throw two names out there.
All right.
Chris didn't get the message of rapid fire. I don't know what's going on.
He wasn't going to talk, and then he talked
you guys
more. I know.
Spent like 30 minutes talking about Sierra Wright.
Well, we went to rapid fire mode, Chris.
Yeah.
Trek Rager asked question: does Corey Foreman look like he's improving? It seems like he has an effort problem for what this coaching staff and the last one said. Your best ability is your availability. Corey Foreman has learned that from last year. He's banged up a little bit, but he's going to be out there this week. He should be full go, is what Lincoln Riley said. Does he look like he's improving? He hasn't been out there yet, so you can't necessarily say if he's improving or not. And how much are we actually going to see from the individual drills?
Yeah.
One Blue Love, 23.
Real quick, though, on that. I mean, the one thing you got to remember, he didn't get to play his senior year also, and I think that was part of it. So, maybe it's going to take him a little bit longer to get rolling, and we'll see when he comes back this week.
One Blue Love 23. Riley said by the start of the season, everyone should have earned their logo. No. Yes, everyone will earn their logo by the beginning of the season, or they won't be dressed out for games. That's what I took away from Lincoln Riley's message, or they won't be a part of the program, so therefore they still wouldn't be dressed out for games.
Yeah, if they're not getting their logo, they're not going to be around.
Yeah. Jasper, under Clay Helton, it seemed like there was hardly any backups that got any PT. Is this Riley's philosophy as well? At least at the wide receiver position, he's already said 8 to 9 people are going to play, so I think you're going to see a little bit more rotation there. Don't know about on the defensive side. That'll be interesting. That's something to keep an eye on with Alex Grinch, how he rotates players. Matt Ferguson, will tight ends be used better? What do you think, Ryan?
I do. I think they're going to use tight ends better. As far as like a group that you probably don't need to add anyone to, Lincoln Riley said you got to add people like everywhere. I don't think you need to add any of the tight ends. I think they're going to be utilized better. They got a really good group. They can stay healthy. I know they're a little banged up right now, but I think you're going to see better use of the tight ends.
Chris, who was Andrew, had a question. Who's the fastest player on the team? Keenan Kristen's no longer there, so
Demoni Jackson?
Correct. You are correct. 10-2 last year? 10-1? 10-1-8, I think. 2-2. I can't remember what it was. 100-yard dash.
I just passed the quiz. I'm just happy about that.
Adler, Ryan, do you think we're getting a traditional spring game scrimmage?
I think so, yeah.
Any notes on that?
We don't. I mean, we just know that that's the only thing that's going to be open for everyone to see. I think you're going to see a more traditional kind of game thing. I think the one good thing is about this athletic department, they've heard all the complaints that people have had, and if it's like an easy fix, like, oh, don't play UC Davis, play an actual, a group of 5 team instead, they did that. I think they're going to have a regular spring game.
Lewis asked, Chris, any news on the transfer portal? We could use some D-line, linebacker. What's the possibility we can get Connerly? We've touched on Connerly. USC still in a good position there. Who knows about this rumored visit to Oregon, if there's any last-minute posturing or pushing there from Oregon. But, Chris, on the transfer portal, definitely were some offers that went out this week, right?
Yeah, the former LSU linebacker, top a 4-star prospect, Josh White. He entered after 2 spring practices at LSU. He's like, I'm out. And
No
then
Brian Kelly.
the dance moves.
Yeah, he saw Brian Kelly's dance moves. Like, I gotta go.
I gotta get out of here. And then the West Virginia defensive lineman Akeem Mezadore, who is kind of the perfect guy we've been talking about as an impact guy that you need, sort of a guy who was a freshman All-American, second team Big 12. They're Big 12. Second team Big 12 selection. Has sacks in his career, has a lot of playing time in his career. I believe Chris Hummer, our national writer, has already come out and did a story that he is, going to take a USC visit. So already on the radar. So that could be, a big name to look out for.
Which game will be our biggest next year?
I think you got to go Utah. They won the Pac-12. They went to the Rose Bowl. It's on the road. If USC has to be back, they're going to have to win that game. Because I don't think Utah's going to lose a bunch of games. So to win the Pac-12 South and then potentially win the Pac-12, I think the South's going to be stronger. You got to beat Utah.
Great
Would
point.
agree.
And last one that we had was Andrew asked, any hope we get to see the Sarkisian-era chrome helmets again against Notre Dame? How do you guys feel about the chrome helmets? Would you want them to bring them back? They were chrome face masks more and just shiny. They're more of a metallic. I don't understand. I don't know exactly how you phrase it. I don't think you would call them chrome though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you want to bring it back. Like you don't want to bring like Sark stuff back because that just wasn't very good.
People were freaking out over stickers. You think people are gonna?
They didn't like the helmet.
Be
Chris,
on.
It happened. It's not like they haven't been through this once already.
I wasn't around, so I don't know what that looked like.
I'm just not a big uniform, like whatever. Like I don't like. They're like, oh my god, they had white socks. I'm like, oh, okay, or whatever it is. Like they've changed their socks. I don't even notice. But yeah. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but the fact that if it was like a Pete Carroll thing, then maybe, but it was like a Steve Sarkisian thing, which he didn't even last 2 years as a head coach, so probably not.
The fact that they didn't go with the uniforms is what always bothered me. They looked really good with the whites because, the color of the helmets was a little bit different than the color of the uniforms with the Cardinal, so that was what bothered me. Otherwise, I thought they looked pretty good. And Ryan, last question for you. How does Rice look, being Brennan Rice?
Yeah, he looks good out there. Like there's
No, Ryan.
what are you talking about?
He looks swole. That's the answer.
Oh, no, it's yoked.
Or yoked. No, it's yoked.
It's supposed to be yoked.
I was giving it letting you have it.
You were building it up. Yeah.
Say your new line.
Yoked.
No.
Nope.
The one we learned today.
I just did bet.
Oh, there it is.
Hey, that was better. That was better.
That's all the rapid fire questions I've got, guys. Thanks so much for everyone for submitting questions. We really appreciate it. We love to talk about the topics of the week, but we also want to answer your questions every week. So thanks for participating and being a part of the show to provide us with some interesting things to converse about.
For sure.
I think Nicole got a question.
I got a question.
Oh, what was the question?
Oh, that is true. We did have one question. I forgot, didn't bold it. What's the biggest food shock for Nicole being in Los Angeles versus her time in Georgia?
Ooh, well, I'm a big foodie, so I like this question. Okay, I will say the sushi in LA is way better than in Georgia, but I miss Southern barbecue like no other.
Oh.
Also the Chick-fil-A's in Georgia are just better. That's another statement. I miss Southern barbecue a lot. Like I would fly back to Atlanta for that.
Got to get her some Bloodsoes, Chris, but tell her what she's really missing.
Zaxby's?
Zaxby's.
Oh,
come on. There's
Zax
no
sauce?
Zaxby's in
good.
LA. Come on,
All right, we can leave. They're going to talk for 30 minutes.
No, we're going to be done. None of this Georgia stuff. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's like the most obvious thing that you could say. Like the sushi's better in LA than Georgia, for sure.
Well, yes.
It's not like Georgia's not near the coast, Ryan.
Yeah, it's St. Simon's. It's close.
Yeah, that's just that.
All right.
I don't
Ryan had some really good food when we went to Savannah. We'll leave it at that.
We did.
There's good seafood in Georgia as well, but sushi's definitely not. There's definitely a much better pick in the Pacific Ocean. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Hit that like button while you're at it right now. Like, subscribe, do all those things.
We love all that, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're like we said, we're getting the show ramped up again. Obviously, there was some retooling that had to be done. Hopefully, it's going to be smooth going forward, and we get the audio better, a lot more video kind of stuff. We'll try to get more guests and everything too. We get all your requests, and we appreciate all of them, and we'll try to keep growing the show and get it back going again. Nicole, I want to thank you very much for taking over. You've been doing a great job running the board and doing all the stuff. So it's great. Shotgun joining us from the East Coast. He'll be out here soon. Chris Trevino, reluctantly on the show, but he's doing great. And, thank all of you guys for listening. So I'm going to wrap this up. You've been watching Tunnel Vision live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and we will talk to you next time.